Hi everyone, this is Natalie with Champion of Coins Tarot. I hope that you are doing very well today. I wanted to come on to film a review video of a deck that is new to my collection and one that I honestly thought that I was never going to get. And that is the Messages from Your Angels Oracle cards by Doreen Virtue. I also want to share a little bit of my thoughts about Doreen and about the way that this deck is priced on the secondhand market. And we'll get into that a little bit later. So if you are not familiar with Doreen Virtue's work, she was the best-selling author at Hay House Publishing for the better part of a decade. She started her career in the 1990s as an angelic medium and a spiritual teacher, and she was really, really impactful, both in terms of just sheer deck sales, because I think aside from the Rider-Waite-Smith, Doreen Virtue has created some of the best-selling decks of all time, but also in terms of changing the public's perception towards tarot and oracle, at least in America, because at the tail end of the 1990s, we were still riding out the wave of the Satanic Panic, where a lot of folks thought that tarot and oracle, witchcraft, and alternative modes of spirituality were inherently demonic and inherently harmful to those who were engaging with those practices. And by coming to the forefront as an angelic medium and sharing her gifts in that way, she was able to dispel a lot of fears and a lot of that Christian rhetoric, because angels, of course, are the divine messengers of the Abrahamic tradition. They are associated with unconditional divine love and acceptance and are able to offer support on folks' path. More so in like the Christian sense, but definitely within Jewish and Islamic tradition as well. So by associating with those, she was able to help create a bridge of understanding with a certain section of the American public that eventually paved the way for the mainstream acceptance that we have now. However, in 2017, she converted to evangelical Christianity. She joined a very conservative fundamentalist church, and she went on record renouncing every deck and every book that she had created up until that point. She said that she had been lied to and deceived by the spirits that she was working with. She said that they were in fact demonic entities, and she advised anyone who had previously purchased her work to throw it away, burn it, or otherwise dispose of it. And this, as you can imagine, just sent shockwaves throughout the tarot and oracle community. Many people felt hurt, they felt betrayed, they were scared that they had been misled in such a way. And I mean, she also had like her own certification program where she taught people how to read tarot. She taught them how to become angelic mediums. She definitely had like this lineage of students, and it was very sad. On the other hand, you also had a frenzy around panic buying her decks because she terminated her agreement with Hay House, and so people bought them up. The frenzy kind of died down, and I honestly didn't give it a second thought for many years until I discovered this deck in a bargain bin. So I am going to first give the review of the deck and my own working experience with it, and then I'm going to save some of my reflections for this towards the end. But this deck was originally published in 2002. It is a 44 card deck and guidebook. The guidebook is 68 pages long, and it is much stronger and much thicker than your regular little white book. It comes with an introduction talking about how to use the cards, explaining what angels are. Doreen was also very big into the law of attraction, and so she lays out some of her philosophy there. The deck comes with several spreads, ranging from love readings to questions of life purpose, exploring your relationship with abundance, with healing, as well as a few spreads for mediumship, specifically contacting a guardian angel or speaking with a deceased loved one. And then you have your standard past, present, future. Actually, no, this is present, immediate future, and 3 months ahead. I apologize. And then for the general meanings of the card, you have the name of the angel, the message that is also printed on the front of the cards, along with an additional message that was channeled by Doreen herself. The book also credits the many artists who worked on this deck. So this is definitely collaborative artwork. The artists are Jeffrey Bedrick, Don Dacus, Eve Croft, Daniel B. Holman, Karen Krangel, Anne-Marie Smith, Carolyn McFarlane, and Varian. So all of these are, and Corey Wolf. So all of these are creators that Hay House had on retinue. And as far as I'm aware, most of these images are quote unquote recycled artwork. So they were not commissioned specifically for the deck. They were repurposed and repackaged in order to create one cohesive deck. The cards are out of order because I've had to try refilming this video several times, but you can see that you have the name of the angel, you have the image, there is a section of the image that is blown up, that is in the corner of the card, and then you have the message. So this one in particular is, I bring you a message from your deceased loved one. I am happy, at peace, and I love you very much. Please don't worry about me. So you can kind of see here how the art style varies very much so. You have these more cartoony images, and then you also have like Merlin, Athena, and then a retinue of kind of the top 100 baby names of 2002. So that was one thing that was shocking to me about this deck, was I had gone into it assuming that there would be more traditional angels represented, or that there would be more of an adherence to the angelic tradition, but it very much goes in its own direction. And I'm not sure if these are actual entities that Doreen worked with and had channeled for the deck. Given the fact that this is recycled artwork, I am inclined to believe that the names might just be randomized and might be a sign of the times. You do have the 4 archangels though. You have Gabriel, Michael, or Michael, Raphael, and Uriel. Now, all of that being said, the deck does read really well. I have done all of the spreads in the guidebook, and I've also been working with this deck on its own and also as a final card to close out a larger tarot reading. And I do think that it is very well suited for that. The messages are uplifting, they are kind, gentle, immediate. I think that this would be a very soothing deck if you are going through a difficult time and you want to have some positivity and encouragement along your personal journey. And I have tried to read for, one second, this is my favorite card in the deck. Like, this cat is everything to me. This is absolutely worth every penny, in my opinion. I just think it's so great. But yes, I have tried to read for larger topics, and while it's not necessarily suited for that, I have been able to come to my own intuitive conclusions based off of kind of the words that I'm most drawn to in the message and being able to relate that to particular situations. So I think that you can work with it in a deeper way than simply affirmations. I think a common criticism that was leveled against Doreen at the time, and is still kind of true now, is that her decks are really only focused on that light aspect and don't go into very dark themes. And I can understand that criticism in 2002, when this was one of the only mass market decks that were out there, and you didn't have a lot of options for shadow work or for more balanced energies in decks. But I think that there are so many decks on the market today that it doesn't need to be all encompassing. This deck fills a very particular niche, and it does so very well. So I will be keeping this deck. I wasn't sure if I was going to at first, once just the excitement of new deck madness wore off, but I do like it, and it does fill, again, a particular niche that not very many decks fill in my personal practice. It shuffles very well. There is kind of like a slight bend to the cards, but it's held up remarkably well considering the fact that this deck is 21 years old. Like, we very well should go out for a drink sometime. So here are a few cards for us to look at as we continue our discussion. Now, I mentioned before that a lot of folks bought up these decks when they were going out of print. They are still readily available. However, if you were to go on a tarot exchange group on Facebook, or if you were to look at eBay listings, the prices are insane. They vary between $45 and $444, which, angel numbers aside, it's a bit funny to me because these decks are actually everywhere. I think that we have built up a lot of artificial scarcity around them on the secondhand market because of all of the controversy, and we've forgotten the fact that Doreen made millions of dollars and they printed millions of these decks. You know, there are probably more Doreen Virtue decks out in existence than most indie decks combined. So if you are drawn to this deck, or if you are drawn to any of Doreen Virtue's other decks, I would definitely recommend that you look in secondhand shops or in metaphysical shops if you can, that you look at Amazon Marketplace, or that you look on Etsy, because often you can find folks listing these closer to what their original retail value would have been, which was $18.99 at publication. Another thing is Doreen Virtue also made several collaborative decks with Radley Valentine, who is another Hay House author and another angel medium. In fact, on the very last page of this guidebook, you see an advertisement for their angel tarot cards. That deck and other collaborative decks with Radley Valentine are still available for purchase, either from Hay House or through his website or through Amazon. And that includes the Guardian Angel Tarot, which I have seen go for like $150 to $200 on Facebook. It is still in print. It is still the exact same deck with the same artwork, the same guidebook, the same quality. The only difference is that her name has been removed from the box. So that markup, just for the name alone, really isn't worth it to me. And I would advise you that if you feel a strong pull to that deck, don't worry, it's still available. It's just, again, it's going to be only under Radley Valentine's name. Another thing too that interests me about the value that we've collectively assigned to Doreen Virtue decks is that Doreen is very infamous for saying that she no longer values what she created. And I think that, you know, that is her own personal experience. Like, I think we've all certainly gone through phases of our life that we might now come to regret. But I think that, you know, so many millions of people have found deep value and have found deep meaning and have forged their own personal relationship with her work, that it really has taken on a life of its own, solely beyond the controversy. The other point too that I want to make is that as somebody who has also converted to a different religion, I know how intensely difficult that can be and how intensely it can affect your relationship with everything in life, certainly with your faith, but also with relationships, with your career, with your lifestyle choices. It definitely is a very deep, very profound, very conscious change. At the same time, however, religious conversion does not absolve people of the harm that they have done. And looking back, I do feel like the way that Doreen went about announcing her conversion and the fear that she instilled in her students, in the people who trusted her, wasn't good. I don't think that that was a very good thing to do. I also personally take some offense to the particular church that she has aligned herself with. And I'm not going to mention their name here because I don't want to draw any attention to them. But it is one that is very fundamentalist, that is anti-LGBTQ, and that has promoted a lot of conspiracies and political misinformation in the last few years. So, you know, it's a case of separating the art from the artist for me. Like, I'm happy to have this deck and it does provide a lot of value for me, but I wouldn't say that purchasing this deck is by any means an endorsement of her values. Similar to the way that my relationship with the Thoth Tarot is very different than my perception of Aleister Crowley, who's also certainly a controversial figure who held many deeply harmful and conspiratorial beliefs in his own day, right? So I would encourage you that if you are interested in experiencing Doreen Virtue deck for yourself, if you feel called to do so, then do so, because it works wonderfully. And you should do what feels most in alignment with yourself and with your own intuition. I would just advise against paying such a high markup for the name of a person who has disowned what she has created and has also used her platform to almost go against everything that this deck in particular and most of the work that she's created in her life stands for. So that is my review and also my ramblings and musings about the Messages from Your Angels deck by Doreen Virtue. Do let me know if you have this deck or if you have any other Doreen Virtue decks. Like I said, this is the only one that I have, and so I would love to hear about other ones, maybe to compare experiences or to see how diverse they actually are. I would be very, very curious about that. And as always, I am sending you much love and much light along your own journey. Take care. Bye.